Right, I thought I'd do another ranking video. This time I thought I'd do it on the Resident Evil games, because there's 10 official games at the minute, so I thought, well, make a good ranking video to do the top 10 best Resident Evil games anyway. I like all these games. I like the remakes and the remasters as well. I'm also not going to include all like the spin-offs like the Resident Evil Revelation games, which I do own, which I quite like, but I'm not going to include them. Also, there's those, I think is it called the Umbrella Chronicles or something like that on the Wii. I've played them on PC. I'm not going to include them, so all like the spin-off games. We're just going to stick to the main original storyline, which there's so far 10 games of. So my number 10, and my least favourite, even though it's not a bad game, is Resident Evil 7. Biohazard. Yeah, to me this game, I remember playing this demo of it, and it was quite disappointing, the demo. To me it felt like this game was made for like VR, and then right at the last minute they were like, let's just shoehorn in a version for regular consoles, and it was just like the whole first person thing. Don't really know, it just wasn't my cup of tea really. I mean, if we're going to say a few good things about this game, I think the graphics were pretty good for its time. It went back to that survival horror sort of like elements. It was probably the Resident Evil game that has probably the most horror in it, or is most like a horror game than all the others, if you want to say a good thing about it. But the gameplay, the first person view, the way it was kind of made for VR, the story, the characters, the whole Ethan Winters thing, it just didn't do a lot for me, to be honest. It didn't grab me as much as like any of the others did. Again, not a bad game. I mean, it's number 10, it's bottom of the list, but it's still worth playing. I've played it once or twice, it's alright. Could have been better, could have been worse. So Resident Evil 7. Right, so number 9, probably not a surprise to many people this. Resident Evil 6. This usually comes at the bottom of the list for most people. To be fair to this game though, like I said, I like all these games. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people talk about how it's sort of like a run and gun sort of action game, which it is. But it's a decent game. I also like it how it's got 3 different stories and all. Is it 6 different characters? And yeah, it's a fun game. There's no survival horror in it, but you know, it's a lot of people don't really like this game that much. I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's just not what a lot of people really wanted from a Resident Evil game, I don't think though, but you could kind of say that about 7 in my terms, but whatever. It's number 9, Resident Evil 6. Number 8, I don't have a physical copy of it, I have it on Steam, and that's Resident Evil 8 Village. When I first played Resident Evil 8 on PC, I was like, kind of like with Resident Evil 7, the first like 5-10 minutes I played it, I was like, I don't really like this. And then werewolves in a Resident Evil game, I was like, it's not Van Helsing, it's Resident Evil, what's going on here? And I didn't really like it the first half hour I played it, and then the more I got into it, I enjoyed it. It was nice to see a return of Chris Redfield as well, but again, like with Resident Evil 7, the story, the characters, the whole Ethan Winters film, it didn't grab my attention that much. Again, I wasn't too keen on the first person view mode, but I think the way it played out and how it controlled and everything, and the gaming mechanics of Resident Evil 8 were definitely better than Resident Evil 7. I enjoyed it far more than 7. I'd definitely go back to it again, but yeah, Resident Evil Village is my number 8. So my number 7, and I would arguably say possibly this is the most underrated Resident Evil game, should I say? And that's Resident Evil 5. Yeah, I really like this game. I mean, kind of like Resident Evil 6, it kind of gets a lot of stick, and I don't know, is that justified? I will say this about this game: towards the end, it does get little bit silly. Like that final boss fight with Wesker, it kind of just. But the first half of this game is brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I've also got it on Xbox One. Is this like a remaster? I think they upscaled it to like 1080p. So if you want to play it, it's better to play it on your PlayStation or Xbox. This PC version, I remember when I first got it, was extremely buggy. And yeah, it glitched a lot. But I got it to work. This was before I had Steam and all that lot. So yeah, got the PC version of it. But yeah, Resident Evil 5. Really enjoyed it. I think it's underrated if you ask me. If you play it in co-op, it's even better. But yeah, really enjoy Resident Evil 5. Do you think they'll remaster that one after we've done 4? Who knows? So, my number 6. And again, this usually goes like near the top of people's lists, but and that's Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Got the GameCube version. I'd say if you've got a GameCube, it's probably better to play on it than the PlayStation 1 version. I've also got the remake, but we're not talking about remakes. We're just talking about the original games. And yeah, I really like Resident Evil 3. Brilliant game. To be fair though, if I'm being honest, I don't really class this as a survival horror game. A lot of people do, I don't. I remember when I first played this on PlayStation 1, a mate of mine lent me the PlayStation 1, so I did play it on the original PlayStation. And to me, compared to the first two, it was far more action-packed. There were guns galore, ammo everywhere, health everywhere. It wasn't a difficult game. I'd say it's one of the easiest games of the Resident Evil series. But it's a great game. A lot of people like the Nemesis character in it. Yeah, it's alright. It was nice to see the return of Jill Valentine. It sort of like ends that story of Raccoon City and Raccoon Forest. Great game. This sometimes comes at the top of people's lists, and you know what, I'm not going to argue against people that saying that this is the best Resident Evil game. It's a great game, it's just it sits in the middle for me, to be honest. So yeah, number 6, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Great game. And it's worth playing the remake as well. It's quite short though. Quite a short game, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, I thought. So, my number 5. And that's Code Veronica. Yeah, I've got GameCube version of it again as well. I think this was originally released on the Dreamcast. Did it get a PlayStation release? Don't know, I'd be interested to know if it got a PlayStation release, but I remember it was originally released on the Dreamcast and then Nintendo got a version of it. It's 2 mini discs. And yeah, a lot of people are talking about this game now because obviously they just remade Resident Evil 4 and completely skipped this one when it is part of the main story, and it's a brilliant game. And I'd actually say it's probably one of the most difficult, if the most difficult Resident Evil game. I found it quite difficult. Again, like what I was saying with Resident Evil Nemesis, I don't really class Nemesis as a survival horror game because it was more quite of an action game really. But this one was definitely more of a return to survival horror. I also liked the return of Chris Redfield and Albert Wesker in this game because after the first game you was like, where's Redfield, where's Wesker? Well, they're back here. And yeah, it's got a bit of a strange story, this one. But overall, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I would definitely class this as more of like a survival horror. Quite difficult to play. Great game. Should have had a remake, in my opinion. I mean, why they jumped straight to Resident Evil 4? They obviously did it for a money grab, I think. But yeah, Code Veronica number 5 again sits in the middle for me. Great game. I need to go back to this one actually because I've not played it for a very long time. So I'll get my GameCube out and have a go with it. Right, my number 4, and that is where it all started. Resident Evil 0. Yeah, I mean, what can I say about this one? I think around the time it came out, it was very different to anything I kind of played before. It was very different to the previous Resident Evil games. I liked the way how it was a prequel to the first game. Again, it was originally a GameCube exclusive, which is why I think this one went off the radar a bit. I mean, you can get it on other platforms now, but originally it was just GameCube exclusive. So yeah, it kind of went over people's heads, this one, which is a shame because it's a great game, a great survival horror game, quite a difficult one. I liked the way you swapped between both characters. I think it was quite original for its time, and yeah, really enjoyed this one. Kind of gets overlooked a lot. Yeah, I mean, can't really say a bad thing about it. It's a great game. I just love it how it's a prequel to the first game, and it goes back to the beginnings and it connects all the dots. I like the way as well how you play as Rebecca Chambers, and I think the other character's called Billy or something, and he escapes from a prison or something. But yeah, it's a great game, a great prequel to the first game. Again, play it if you've never played it before, because I think this is one of those games that a lot of people don't seem to talk about or have played, and you can get it on most platforms I think now, so definitely give it a shot. It's a great game. Right, so my number 3, probably not a surprise to see this in the top 3, but number 3 is Resident Evil 4. Yes, the Resident Evil 4, the one that's just been remade, and I've yet to play the remake yet, but it looks pretty good so far. But I'm a bit concerned because I've seen on the gameplay how the controls are with Leon, and they seem a little bit off, as the controls in this game are like really good and free moving, so I'll have to see what the remake's like. But yeah, Resident Evil 4, some would say the greatest Resident Evil game, and I'm not going to argue with that. It's definitely up there. But yeah, this sort of like reinvented the Resident Evil series. Originally it was a GameCube exclusive, and then it got a PlayStation release, but you can get it pretty much on all platforms now. In fact, I have it on Xbox One as well. This is probably the best way to play it with upscaled like 1080p graphics, but yeah. Resident Evil 4, I mean, what can you say about it really? I mean, I think maybe after Code Veronica they needed to make some changes to the story and how the game played and everything, and this was the right way forward. I think with 5 and 6 they went a bit too over the top, but with this one we got it right, and yeah, it's a great game, brilliant game. I could go back to this now and replay it. Looking forward to playing the remake of it. I haven't done yet, but I will get round to it. And yeah, it's Resident Evil 4, great game. I'm sure most of you know about this game and have played it. I remember playing it back in the day on the GameCube, and it was brilliant. Resident Evil 4, my number 3. So, top 2. And my number 2 is Resident Evil 2. And for many it's number 1, but yeah, this was a tough one because these last 2 games, I mean, they're close, they're very close. But yeah, it's brilliant. This was the very first game I got on my PlayStation 1. When I got my PlayStation 1, it had just come out, so it was a no-brainer. Great game. Love everything about this game. The story, the music, the characters. I thought it was a great sequel to the first game. And I have to be quite delicate with this because it is quite old. I've had it since 1998. Did it come out? I think the case is coming apart a bit. But yeah, Resident Evil 2. It's just like it's one of those defining games of a PlayStation era, I think. I mean, it usually comes in the top 10 of lists of PlayStation games in general. I mean, I think a lot of people regard this as the best Resident Evil game, along with Resident Evil 4 probably, and again, I'm not going to argue with that. It's a brilliant game. Never gets old. I also have it on the GameCube. I've still got all the stickers on it. So, probably the better way to play it on the GameCube. And then I've also got the remake on the Xbox One, which, funnily enough, I quite liked. Thought it was a decent game, but I don't know, I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as the original one. I think the disappointing thing with the remake is they cut all the music out, so it didn't have the music that was in the original game. And there was a lot of other things they left out as well. And yeah, it was a decent remake. It was just not perfect, really. I actually prefer Resident Evil 3 remake to the second one. But yeah, the only thing is the Resident Evil 3 remake was too short. Resident Evil 2 remake just wasn't as good as the original. But yeah, number 2, Resident Evil 2. So, my number 1. Have you guessed what it is? And it's Resident Evil 1. The original. And the best, in my opinion. Yeah, I'll never forget when this game first came out, 1996. Played it on my friend's PlayStation. PlayStation to me at the time was quite new. I was still playing on my Mega Drive, and I remember playing this and I was just like, I've never seen or played a game quite like it. To me, it was groundbreaking. This game, it was just like there were so many clones that copied it after it, and it was just one of those moments in gaming history that I haven't had that many of. And when I first played this and I saw it, that cutscene at the beginning, and then you get into the game, you go into the mansion, it was just like groundbreaking. Everything about this game, the music, the gameplay, the stories, the characters, it's just the best in my opinion. A lot of people laugh at it now because I think a lot of the voice acting, a lot of people like to take the piss out of it now, but back when it came out, nobody thought of it that way. I mean, it's just a great survival horror game. Quite a difficult one as well. If you play as Chris Redfield, it's definitely quite difficult to complete. I think with Jill Valentine it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I love everything about this game. The story, the characters. And yeah, the original PlayStation 1. Yeah, it's my number 1. Resident Evil 2. I would say Resident Evil 2 almost got to number 1, but no, it had to do this one. And it was also one of the reasons. I've also got the GameCube and the Origins collection. This was also one of the reasons I ended up buying a GameCube, because I remember I had a PlayStation 2 at the time, and I was just like, I've got to get a GameCube because I've got to play the remake of the Resident Evil. And to me as well, this is one of the best remakes of the game ever. I mean, even the current remakes of the other Resident Evil games, they're alright, they're okay, but this one's brilliant. I mean, it sort of like kept everything what was great about the original, plus, you know, plus more. I mean, 2 discs, GameCube. Yeah, I mean, if you've got an Xbox or PlayStation, get this. Basically, it's the remake of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 0 in one package. So yeah, anyway, we're not talking about the remasters. The original Resident Evil, my number one. Brilliant, one of the best games ever made, one of the best PlayStation 1 games, and it's my favourite Resident Evil game, and I'll still go back to it now and play it and love it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. What's your favourite Resident Evil game? This list was actually quite easy for me, just those last two, Resident Evil 1 and 2. 2 nearly pipped it, but it had to be Resident Evil 1. But yeah, I love the Resident Evil games. Looking forward to the next one. Hopefully they go back to the third person over the shoulder view rather than first person, but who knows, with Resident Evil 9. And thanks for watching anyway. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.